I'm Christine Stavropoulos.
Και εγώ ο Νίκος Σαμίδης. Και αυτό είναι το Greek Podyssey, το podcast της Ομογένειας.
A podcast for Hellenes worldwide, sharing stories, culture, identity, laughs and a little bit of tsugrisma along the way.
Γιατί μπορεί να φύγαμε από την Ελλάδα, αλλά η Ελλάδα δεν έφυγε ποτέ από μας.
This podcast brought to you by Natasha Karamiho, your trusted legal voice in Greece for all your legal matters, and Helco Consulting, trusted services for all business and investments in Greece.
So we're Greeks living abroad. So we are the Greek diaspora. In this podcast, we're focusing and we dive deep into Greek diaspora matters and subjects that they're very interesting for all of us who are living abroad. We also dive deep into matters that might be interesting for people living in Greece and having us as the representative here, for example, in Australia, in America, in Canada. So in this episode, we will discuss the importance of the Greek diaspora and why the Greek diaspora is a power tool and it's a contributor to maintain our Greekness while living abroad.
Our podcast, our tagline is Joining Greeks of the Diaspora Worldwide. So it's poignant that we actually have a podcast focused on all of us, of Greeks abroad, considering we are the worldwide custodians of our culture, our language. We shoulder a huge responsibility. So how do we draw on that to make ourselves relevant to Greeks of Greece, the Greek government, so we're not just seen as an outpost around the world?
The power of the Greek diaspora and the effects that it has to the global community, it's very, very important. The funny part on this is that Greeks and the Greek governments don't pay that much attention to us. Are we doing something wrong? Or these guys think, okay, these guys left Greece, so they're not part of our culture.
I think there's a lot of that, Nico. When we visit Greece, a lot of the locals say, well, you don't have to live with what we're living with. You live overseas. So already they're putting this barrier between us and them. Like, that's you over there, and this is us over here. We need to have a united message to say, you need us.
And that's the reason for this podcast. We will explore how the Greek diaspora contribute to Hellenism while living abroad and why it's a powerful tool. So welcome to episode 2 of season 3 of the Greek Podyssey. Hello, Christine.
Hi, Nico.
Welcome to the episode.
I was looking forward to this episode, primarily because it's about what the government of Greece, whichever is the government of the day, to recognize, acknowledge and understand the importance of the Greek diaspora in terms of what we contribute and to offer the resources that we need. It's really hard maintaining language when you live in another country. When there's mixed marriages, generational change, you're speaking the language of the land. We have these challenges. So how important is it to the Greek government for our language to continue through the generations and maintaining our identity? And what are they prepared to do to recognize us as a force to be reckoned with, to work with us towards that end, rather than struggling the way we're struggling at the moment?
I have created 4 key points how the Greek diaspora are doing the job while living abroad. So the first that came into my mind was that we maintain the Greek culture. That's the number one. The second one is that we support financially with different way Greece. The other one is that we influence politically in very serious issues the Greece and the Greek politics. And the other one, the last one, is that we are social and moral contributors. Let's take these key points one by one.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about that.
Break it down.
So let's talk about the first one, which we are the cultural ambassadors. How we, as Greeks living abroad, maintain our culture? What's the tools that we're using? So we're having festivals.
Language, cinema, festivals, religious celebrations, Easter, theatre. It all comes under culture, Nico. Do we talk politics? Do Greeks of the diaspora sit and talk about Greek politics?
But the most important
who
is
does that?
we do that.
Our generation does.
Yes.
What happens generations moving forward? They're not going to sit and talk about Greek politics.
Well, if they have an interest, I think they will do. For me, the main key point is that we keeping the traditions alive. We keep the language alive. We keep the Greek spirit alive while living abroad through our everyday life, through our habits.
When you said, if they have an interest, they'll do it. For example, let's use politics as an example. What's going to trigger that interest, maintain that interest?
But politics is not traditions and cultural
But
things.
it's all part.
No, yeah, that's different, but it's not culture. When we talk about cultural things, we talk about language, traditions, we talk about everyday life things that we do. Politics are politics. So someone can be Greek and maintain the language, traditions, and all that without being politically connected.
I used politics as an example. I could have used language as an example.
Totally different language and politics.
But how do we maintain that interest? That interest is maintained when the government sees us as a resource and an asset that it supports. Because when future generations see that we matter, that we're engaged, that we're given resources, they look like, yes, we are connected back to Greece because the Greek government is supporting us in language, supporting us in festivals, supporting us in infrastructure in terms of consulate support. Future generations see that we are connected back to Greece and the government. That's going to give them an interest. It could be anything. But it all goes back to who we connect back with. And unless in Greece and the government sees us as an important asset, it's just going to be a lot harder.
I'll disagree with that, Christine.
Tell me.
Because we're doing it, we maintain our culture and everything's being Greek because we want to. That's how we feel. That's why we're gathering Christmas, Easter, all together. We have to keep the traditions alive, not because of any government. The only reason that we're doing it is because we want to pass it on to the new generations, not to feel lonely. Because if we don't do it, we will feel lonely, separated from motherland, from Greece.
You're now talking as someone that was raised and lived all his life in Greece. I'm talking as somebody who was born and raised here. And then my kids and their kids. Do they have the same passionate need to continue? I come across conversations that I've had from people in the diaspora. They said, we never saw a need to do it. We live here, there's no need to do it. So you can't just rely on, oh, it's because we want to do it, we like to do it. When you're made to feel irrelevant, you think, what's the point of maintaining this thing called culture? If we're not recognized as an asset by the country that we are ambassadors of, it's going to get a lot harder. That's what I'm saying.
I disagree again. Sorry, Christine. I'm doing it because I want to pass it to my son. Do you remember what Jason said about the Greek language?
Yep.
He said on the podcast that I'm learning Greek so I can pass it on to my kids. No government does that.
I agree.
You don't have to have a connection. No one was going to give us the medal or the prize for that, for maintaining our culture.
Okay, I'm not saying that comes from the government. That comes from me, just like I have that need to do it. But I'm talking about the people that don't have that need to do it. You give them a reason to want to do it, be it an economic reason.
What's that?
Investing in Greece, for example.
Now, we talk about maintaining our culture. That's what we're talking about now.
Okay, do you agree that language comes under culture?
Of course.
Would you agree that having some sort of financial support for universities to keep that language going, would you say that's
100%.
maintaining culture?
100%.
So doesn't that then tie back to government?
Of course.
That's what I mean.
No, that's not recognition.
No, it is recognition.
It's not. It's the need They need to understand that this is a need. They have to support that, not to recognize it.
The way to support it is to be a big voice with a big numbers. So then the government thinks, oh, wow, we've got all these potential voters, investors, people returning back from the brain drain.
I can smell money now here. You're talking 3 examples.
Yes.
Investors, voters, returning back. That's money.
No
money.
government's going to give money unless they smell money.
Yeah, I don't like that.
But it's true.
Yeah, for me, cultural and identity maintenance is something more important and something beyond money. For me, it's the soul of being Greek. And none of your fathers or mothers of our generation kick the shit out of us to learn Greek because they have benefits or be recognized or have any benefits from that. It was because you're Greek. You have a Greek blood running in you.
Don't talk about my parents and your parents. Don't
Why?
even talk about me and you. Would, for example, my grandkids kick the shit out of their kids to learn Greek? We're the diaspora, and we've got to look at things realistically.
That's how we train the new generations and connect them with the roots.
Right now, we have...
If Greece is just a holiday place for them, there is no connection. But if it's family, if it's culture, if it's traditions, then it is a connection.
When it comes to investments and business opportunities, you need more than promises. You need experience that delivers. You need people you can trust. Helco Consulting provides strategic partnerships, clear methods, and services with a strong presence in Greece. Helco Consulting, your trusted consultants in Greece.
Today is UNESCO International Greek Language Day. And for me, it's an oxymoron when we have universities here that are shutting down their language departments and shutting down the Greek language. I see it as a crime against humanity.
Okay, and why that's happening? Because they're not that popular.
They need funding to sustain
To
themselves.
sustain them, because they're not very popular.
How do we change that?
Popularity, it's all about promotion.
And what does promotion need?
From Greek government, from the
Exactly.
consulate here in Greece or in America or in
Bingo.
Canada. But that's different. That's what the governments, how the government's approaching the maintenance of the culture. Not if we've been recognized as the gatekeepers of our culture while living abroad.
Do you think we're seen as the gatekeepers or as tourist dollars that visit Greece a couple of months a year?
I think there are both options on the table. It's not only one. As you said, there are people that are interested of maintaining our culture and some other that they don't. I know people that live in Australia and in America have never been back in Greece for the last 30 years. I can't do that.
No.
Sorry, Christine.
Well, some people might be financially in a position to do that.
for 30 years?
But if you have an asset, do you not see that asset as valuable that you want to invest in? If we're an asset, how many Greeks would you say around the world? I wouldn't even know the number. I wouldn't even begin to know the number. How many Greeks of the diaspora do you think there are?
It's about 5 million, more than 5 million.
So it's half the population of Greece. So how valuable would it be to engage with people living abroad that are half the population of your country?
If you mean strategically, of course, you must be stupid not to do it.
Is it being done effectively?
No.
Why? And how could it be done more effectively?
They need a strategic plan to do that. They need more resources. They need to know what to do. They need to pay attention to the diaspora. That's what they need to do. The recognition comes after.
When I say recognize, that's what I'm talking about, understanding the value. So how, as a voice, because we are Greeks living abroad, how do we send that message to the government to stand up and listen, to see us as that
Do we
asset?
have to send that message?
Well, obviously they haven't seen it themselves.
Why to do that? I'm doing my job and I'm okay with myself. Do I need to stand up and show them that I'm doing my job because I want to do it?
We were talking about
on, man.
being an important asset.
Yeah. Do I have to do that? When I'm
No.
searching something, I'm going to the other side and I say, okay, I'll do research, collect all the data, and see how it works. That's how things are getting done. And let's go to the second one, because it's very important into that. The economic benefit Greece has from the Greeks living abroad, from the Greek diaspora. I know many people investing in Greece from overseas. Some might say, oh, you come with your dollars and spend your money here in Greece and you play the macho man. But it's not how it is, because by investing, building a hotel, for example, in Crete, I create jobs for the people, for the locals, pay my taxes to the Greek government and all, etc., etc., etc. How else do you think the Greek diaspora influence economically Greece?
There are Greek products at the moment flooding world markets. Apart from food, there's also gourmet food, clothing, cosmetics, art, a whole gamut of things that are helping Greek industries by importing from all these companies. I think one of the main resources that the government has, apart from its own citizens, is the Greeks abroad. But is enough being done to help with citizenship, to help with creating a reason for young people, if they gain citizenship, to maybe go and live in Greece and relocate? Is enough being done by that?
That's another subject.
It's still part of being an asset to Greece. I know there's worldwide challenges with staffing consulates so they can get through all the paperwork to help with citizenship. There's the obstacle of people in Greece that don't think that Greeks of the diaspora are entitled to vote. You just said if you're living overseas but you have a company and you're investing in Greece and you pay tax in Greece, why shouldn't you be entitled to a vote?
Yeah, of course. Thank God that we have now these days things been moved forward into this direction, and we are very, very happy for that. But it's sad at the same time to see that last year only 250 people voted from Australia.
There was the last election, not last year. When was the last election? The last
sorry.
election.
Yeah.
I think
It was the first time that happened, and that
Yep.
was, yeah.
I think the criteria was a lot stricter then. The criteria of having to live there for 2 years has been removed now. That result should be a lot better coming
A lot better.
next elections. But it's a holistic solution. You invest in consulates to process more people, you get more people being able to vote, and you have more people that are more connected to Greece, relocate to Greece and start working. So it's a big project, Nico. It's not just about, oh, look at us. We're still singing Greek and speaking Greek and dancing Greek. How good are we? Let's pat ourselves on the back. It goes a lot deeper than that. And we need to be seen as a strong asset and a strong voice and a resource to Greece, beyond keeping the culture and Greekness alive.
I agree with you, because the Greek lobbies of the diaspora, the American lobby, the Australian lobby, they're doing an amazing job influence politically really serious matters. I'll take, for example, the returns of the marbles. I'll take as a second example when Turkey tried to have the F-35. The American lobby was so strong that they put a veto into that. And it worked, because they're still trying. They say, no, you're not going to have it because you're violating like the airspace of Greece all the time. They stopped after that when Menendez said, you guys are going to use your weapons against Greece. And Greece is part of NATO. So we're not approve that. So that was a big
Excellent
slap,
example.
a big slap for the Turkey. And it's a great example how the Greek lobbies influence positively political systems.
Yes. So we influence political system, financial system, cultural system. They're the three pillars. Tourism comes under finance and culture. Language comes under culture. So they're political, financial, and cultural.
When legal matters affect your business or life, you need guidance you can trust. Natasha Karamihu provides expert legal advice, protecting your interests and navigating every challenge. Natasha Karamihu, your trusted legal voice in Greece.
We have one more,
Which
is the moral and ethical contribution of the Greek
Yes,
diaspora.
correct.
So there are many philanthropists assisting, for example, that's one example,
Yep.
assisting Greece through the hardships by creating campaigns. What do you think?
The Hellenic Initiative, which we will mention often because I find them such a vital organisation to Greece from the diaspora, but also when we had the bushfires in Greece. How many people from diaspora rallied together and sent over containers of resources and food and clothes and money? And, we band together. So the ethical component is a big one.
Well, the other thing is some of this money they've lost on the transfer, on the transit.
Well, that's another subject altogether.
Why not say that?
Well, I don't have
The evidence.
I don't have evidence.
The
of
evidence
that,
to
so,
say that. Okay.
that's all.
The Greeks abroad, the Greek diaspora also contributes to the moral, cultural thing.
Yeah.
We have the THI, as we said, that they're creating like big with SOS Village. They're in collaboration and they're supporting these causes, which is amazing. They're creating jobs here for Greeks to come here and to have internships here in Australia, for example, so they can go back in Greece and they can have on the resumes.
If I had a whiteboard and I was to put in a structure, and of course this is just my whiteboard because I don't know what the economic policies are in Greece at the moment, I would do a breakup, a budget of, let's analyze how much does the diaspora actually bring into Greece financially, either investment, all of it, and then say, according to that, per capita, I will allocate this much of this budget to Australia, to the UK, this much to the US. Who manages that budget, though, it becomes a different matter, like who allocates it once it lands here. But you need to look at us as a holistic union between us and Greece. Look how Israel works. They're very powerful because their government and their people,
They're lobbying.
They're
bonding.
lobbying.
Yes.
they're a small population, but their power comes in recognizing all of them abroad, and that gives them strength, bonding.
I agree with you.
If we were to adopt that principle to the Greek diaspora, look what Greeks have endured through history: occupation, financial crisis, everything. We're a small population. We always rise from the ashes. Imagine how much more powerful we would be if we had that same philosophy and ideology used with Greeks around the world and adopted that same. Where would we be now? We would be unstoppable.
I agree with you. And I think that the power of the Greek diaspora
Exploited properly.
used and exploited properly for Greece's benefits. And that's no one can deny that.
When our shorts go up and when this podcast goes live, I'd love to hear from Greeks of the diaspora in other countries. What are your thoughts on this? Because it affects all of us. We're all in this together. Does your viewpoint align with ours? Do you see something different happening in the country you live? I'd love to know how other people around the world view this.
I'm pretty sure, like many of us, who have some bittersweet experience by trying to help and not being recognized or trying to influence and rejected. We would love to hear your bittersweet story of that.
Yeah, okay. When I say recognize, I don't mean a pat on the back. Oh, look how good you are. I mean recognize as, wow, you matter. And because you matter, this is what we're going to do for you.
I don't think it's a recognition thing. I think it's more like to understand the insights. I've learned to see things as a business. If I had a business, the name is Greece, and I have branches in United States, Canada, Australia, I was always checking how my branches going, how they perform, what's the problem, how I can solve these issues so they can be more productive. What can I do from my side as the business on Greece to make things work better for Greece's benefit?
You've hit the nail on the head, Nico. And you know why? Greece has a declining population. Birth rates are in negative. You have to go beyond your border to see what are my other resources. My other resources lie abroad. How can I woo them? How can I entice them? How can I bring them back? How can I encourage them to have children, to start populating? There's this big wave around at the moment about, immigration. Without immigration, we dry up. Without a population, we dry up. At the moment, Greece as a population is drying up because we don't have the birth rates needed to keep sustaining and moving forward. We've got to go beyond our borders. Maybe this podcast should be called Beyond the Borders because we're everywhere. There's another half a population around the world. Like you said, if Greece was a company and they were all your subsidiaries, are you giving them the attention to give you the return that you want?
And don't forget, Christine, and I'm talking now for not the old immigrants, for the new ones. They left not because they don't love Greece, but because Greece is not accountable and take no responsibilities. That's the main reason that they left Greece.
Which wave of migrants are you talking about? The recent ones?
Yeah,
or-
I'm talking about the last, let's say, 20 years.
Right, okay.
Because it was a big wave.
Yes,
After
yes,
that.
yes.
I'm not talking about the Second World War.
Because they're different needs.
Because
No,
the
no.
first one was they forced to get out.
Yep. I want to make another point. We talked about the challenges of maintaining culture. My parents, and you would have experienced that because you were born here, there was this big word called assimilation. You were encouraged, and assimilation was, and I remember the slogans. The Greeks and Italians are coming over. They're going to change our culture. They're going to change the way we live. They look different to us. They dress different. They eat different. Assimilation back then was, you've got to be like us so we can accept you. I don't like that word, assimilation. I feel we all come under the law of the land. If everybody is respectful of the country that they have immigrated to and they abide by the law of the land, they shouldn't have to eat a certain way. They shouldn't have to speak a certain way. They should be able to practice who they are, because these countries are multicultural nations that were built on immigration. So assimilation, for me, was a struggle where we risked losing our Greekness, and we had to really fight to maintain it, particularly my generation, when we were really fresh, one of the first born in the country from immigrants. It was a challenge. And I know there will be people out there and say, well, we didn't experience that. Yes, but, when I say that I did, you can't tell me that I didn't, because I did. It depends demographically where you lived, the ethnic population. It was a challenge. And look at us now. We're still speaking Greek. Our kids are still speaking Greek. That has to be a testament to our endurance and our love of culture to have continued it and to still fight to continue it through the generations.
I totally agree with you. I have my concerns if multiculturalism is a successful story or has failed. That's something that we can discuss in another episode. out
That's
of this.
another big topic.
I would like to come back and say that if Greece wants to keep the Greek diaspora alive, they need to pay more attention, listen to the diaspora, and act. These three key points, attention, listen, and act, for me are the most important to keep the Greek diaspora alive as a powerful tool, not only for Greeks living abroad, but also for Greece.
Just before we wind up, do you think there's a perception still amongst people of Greece that see the diaspora as the people that left their villages back in those years through war, through whatever, and that's the image that they retain in their head about what we are? Oh, they're just people that left as migrants, they struggled, and they don't see us as generationally having changed. I'll tell you why. There's people that went back to Greece that hadn't been for 30, 40 years. They still had, because a lot of people live on perception. They went back to Greece with the perception of seeing what they left. And what they saw was a country that had drastically evolved from when they left. Do you think there's a lot of Greeks that still see us in the reverse, in the same way that migrants that left that are still very not progressive and not progressed?
Okay.
Still do the same old Greek dances, still, the souvlaki on a stick, and we haven't evolved.
Okay, I don't know if the progression is the part like evolution, but I'll answer with that. Many Greeks say that you guys, Greeks living abroad, you are more Greeks than what we are.
True,
And
too.
that gives an answer.
That's true too, Diego.
And I would like to close this episode by asking all our friends to share their stories about this topic. How strong the Greek diaspora is. Is it a powerful tool or just another chapter on the
what
Greek book?
is the government doing enough? And what would you like them to do? What would you like to see to feel like you matter?
Thank you very much, Christine.
Thank you. I love this.
It was a beautiful topic.
Bit
And
power charged.
we're getting ready to go to the event
held by the Consul General of Sydney,
in Sydney,
UNESCO International World
the
Language
Greek
Day,
Language Day.
9th of February every year.
Thank you very much for being with us for another episode, and hope we'll see you again to the next one.
Stay tuned for all the shorts and follow us on our social media, YouTube, Spotify.
You guys watching from Instagram Shorts, if you go up on our bio, there is a button there. You can watch our latest episode. So please do that. Don't just stay
Yeah.
on the Shorts.
Maybe we should put that on the bio because some people message
It
me,
is
how
on the
do
bio.
I watch the full episode?
It is on the
Click on
bio.
that. Yeah.
It is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This podcast brought to you by Natasha Karamiho, your trusted legal voice in Greece for all your legal matters, and Helco Consulting, trusted services for all business and investments in Greece.
I'm Christine Stavropoulos,
Και εγώ ο Νίκος Σαμίδης. Και αυτό είναι το Greek Podyssey, το podcast της Ομογένειας.
a podcast for Hellenes worldwide, sharing stories, culture, identity, laughs, and a little bit of tsugrisma along the way.
Γιατί μπορεί να φύγαμε από την Ελλάδα, αλλά η Ελλάδα δεν έφυγε ποτέ από μας.